Hi, Bill Naylor here. In this session, we're going to use Observer and the GigaStor to do voice over IP analysis. So starting with the GigaStor control panel, just as in the past if you've looked at our 3 steps to packets approach, we're going to do the same thing here where we select a time frame on the timeline and then we click the Analyze button. But this time we're going to use a built-in sort of easy button for voice over an IP that Observer does for us. So we're going to click that, and that'll bring up a dialog box where in the settings where we can see there are places to put different patterns. And if you look at the drop down, we can do a calling number, either the full number or part of the number, the caller number, or some variations of both of those. We can also do things like regex, regular expressions. We can also use a call ID out of that information. So depending on what kind of systems your customer has and what kind of information they get about what they need to go investigate, you can utilize this to extract calls. So I have a call. In this case, I have a call that I know is here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a pattern. So this will be the calling number, the call number, some portion of that number would work as well. So we're going to put that pattern in, and now we're going to say at the bottom you can see there's 2 radio buttons. I don't want just the first call, I want to see all of the calls for the analysis period. So I'm going to click OK and OK here, and what happens now is the data will get processed. So now we're extracting that data, and you can see that it is processing the packets, and it takes you initially to the remote decode tab at the bottom, but now we're going to go over to the expert analysis and focus on the VoIP and video conferencing, and you'll notice the calls will start to populate. So what we asked the GigaStor to do is go back through and look at only phone calls, so any packets related to that phone call based on the pattern we put in, which was a calling number, or part of that calling number would work as well. And now you see that the calls are starting to fill in this display, which is sort of a call detail record kind of display. So keep an eye on that percentage where it says how much of it's completed. Depending on how much data you're processing, it'll take a few minutes to run through there typically, but we're doing this because otherwise we're looking at 50 million packets, and if we processed all the packets, we'd be seeing, web traffic, SQL traffic, database, whatever front ends, whatever DNS, all of the overhead, basically all of the traffic in the network. So we're done now. It finishes this up, but by using these shortcuts, we're only looking at these 4 phone calls that meet the criteria that we asked for. Each call is broken down into the various codecs down in that secondary window, but we can also do things like connection dynamics, where we're actually seeing a bounce diagram for each entity within that phone call, and we can see things like how much time elapsed between an invite and a start request and so forth. We can also do things like extract the call based on a filter criteria. So I can say only show me that one phone call, which is a great way to deal with, if you're, say you're dealing with a third-party vendor, you're opening up something from, with a Cisco TAC or somebody like that, and you say, they're going to say, send me a trace, send me a capture. So you can save this, save it as a PCAP file, give it a name, and it makes it that easy. And it's much harder to do that from a manual process where you're going to have to figure out which packets belong. This easy button kind of approach with an Observer essentially stitches all those back together for the time frame that you asked for. So that's a fairly high-level view of voice over IP analysis with Observer and the GigaStor. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.